Welcome back, everybody, to the Future of Money Virtual Summit. My name is Ryan Andrew Peterson. I'm the CMO of Conscious Marketer and the co-producer of this event. On the line with us today, we have a special treat, Kevin Harrington, the entrepreneur and business executive. He's going to be talking about his perspective on cryptocurrency. And we also have a guest host, Eric Christopher from Totally Crypto. In just a minute, John Tarr is going to be introducing them. But first, I just wanted to give you a preview of today's talks, kind of get you excited. We have some amazing speakers coming up. At 9 a.m. Pacific time, right after this call, we have Peter Lucy. He's going to be talking about non-correlated risk returns. So how to mitigate risk when you're investing in cryptocurrency. And then at 12 p.m. Pacific, we have Michael Taggart. He's the president of CryptoMex. So you won't want to miss that. And then at 4 p.m. Pacific, we have John McAfee, the pioneer of the commercial antivirus industry and world-famous tech CEO. That's at 4 p.m. Pacific today. And then our last talk today is 7 p.m. Pacific with Andrew Keen. Andrew Keen has been seen on Street Smart, the TV show, so you might recognize him from that. He's going to be talking about cryptocurrency and blockchain. So that's our lineup for today. We also have talks for the rest of the week, 5 speakers a day. So make sure you tune in. And last thing, under this video, we have social icon share buttons for Facebook, Twitter, and Google. If you could click those and share this with your friends and family, that would be great. Social media is making it difficult for us to advertise and get this important information out there. So any help you can give would be awesome. Without further ado, John Tarr, why don't you take us away?
All right. Thanks, Ryan. And welcome back, everybody, to the Future of Money, the world's largest online cryptocurrency summit. I'm John Tarr, entrepreneur, investor, and founder of Totally Crypto. And for our next presenter, I'm super excited. What a great day we have in front of us here. I'm going to introduce to you one of the contributors to Totally Crypto, Eric Christopher, and he and Kevin Harrington are going to jam here in a second. But before I do, let me just remind you that there's a button on this page for the cryptocurrency training kit. That's a special offer during the summit that gets you over 40 hours of talks, including this one with Kevin, 25 plus speaker bonuses, and a program called the Cryptocurrency Mastery Program. The regular price is $497, but you can get yours now for $297. Also, remember, the content of this summit is provided for informational purposes only. It's not intended to provide any specific tax, accounting, legal, or other investment advice, or provide the basis for any financial or investment decisions. You should always consult with a licensed professional to seek advice specific to your own situation. All right, let's get going. Let me introduce Eric Christopher, a good friend of mine, a contributor to Totally Crypto. We know him as E-Rock. And let me tell you who E-Rock is. He's an innovative marketing strategist and respected business consultant. He's been featured in Entrepreneur.com, Business.com, Thrive Global, Huffington Post, and Newswire.net, including Totally Crypto. He's the founder of BizFamous.com, which is a consultancy designed to promote large brands and enterprises. And he's an expert when it comes to media and PR. I'm going to turn it over to you, Eric, man. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. And I'll be here. You guys have fun.
John, thank you. I'm definitely honored to be invited to this amazing event. The lineup and the speakers that you brought to the table between you, Adrian, and Roger Bryan has been unbelievably exceptional. And I'm excited to be able to continue to learn more about the cryptocurrency space. And beyond that, I'm honored to be able to introduce today's guest for today's episode for the Future of Money Virtual Summit. This gentleman is actually a true business icon. This gentleman's an original shark from the Shark Tank television show and a successful entrepreneur for more than 4 decades. He's on the co-founding board member of the Entrepreneurs Organization and co-founder of the Electronic Retailing Association. And he's actually the pioneer, creator, and inventor of the modern infomercial. He helped actually make the popular phrase, "But wait, there's more," right? I hope Kevin likes it. Part of our cultural history. He's one of the pioneers, again, as behind the scenes for As Seen on TV. I'm sure you've seen that in retail outlets everywhere, and has actually heard and pitched by over 50,000 times. and has actually launched over 500 products, generating more than $5 billion in global sales. Actually, 20 of his companies have eclipsed more than $100 million in revenue each. And he's also the founder of the Secrets of Closing the Sale Masterclass, inspired by the master of sales himself, none other than Zig Ziglar. Additionally, if that wasn't enough, he's also the author of several best-selling books, including Act Now, How I Turn Ideas into $1 Million Products, Key Person of Influence, and Put a Shark in Your Tank. So this man is actually one of the most influential business icons of our generation. So I'm excited to introduce to today's episode of the Future of Money Virtual Summit none other than Mr. Kevin Harrington.
Hey, Eric. Wow, that was a mouthful. Thank you so much. Great to be here. And it's amazing to hear the slate of some pretty powerful speakers that are coming on the program over the next couple of days. So I'm excited to be part of the team here to deliver some fun and excitement here for the next several minutes or so. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome. We actually had to shorten your list of accolades to account for the time because of all of your accomplishments. But seriously. But as we begin to dive in and get into some of the questions I prepared, right? So for those of you who don't know, I do write for sites like entrepreneur.com, Thrive Global, Business, etc. And so today is going to be very much cryptocurrency related and very centric around that. But we also wanted to ask some questions about entrepreneurialism as well. So before we go into all the topics you want to talk about today, Kevin, we're asking everyone here who's a guest speaker, what or how do you think crypto will influence the future of money in the world? And what's your perspective as a high-level businessman and investor?
Yeah. So are you asking me to answer that, or are you asking the rest of the crowd?
No, I'm asking you, sir. So we're wanting you as the speaker to share your perspective, right? As an investor in Shark Tank, as a traditional successful business entrepreneur. So how do you think crypto is going to influence the future of money in the world? And
Gotcha. Yeah. So just want to make sure we're on the same track here. So thank you for that. So I believe I'm a direct marketer. I have been finding products to sell direct to the consumer for the last 35 years. And so whether it be kitchen products, houseware products, Jack LaLanne and the Juicer, Tony Little in fitness, I love that side of the business. And you mentioned I've taken quite a few pitches. I go to the houseware show and take pitches, the hardware show, the beauty shows, the toy fair. One of my favorites is the PGA golf show because I love that gets my own personal passion that I get to tie into the business. But as I look for things that are changing in my universe, one of the things that started happening about 5 years ago was television was declining in viewership. So here I am, an as seen on TV pioneer, but 50% fewer people were watching television. This was very concerning to me. So we had to undergo some major investigation of what's happening and where are these people going, and basically follow the eyeballs was our strategy. And now we've moved into digital where the people are going. They're in Facebook, they're in Instagram, they're on YouTube, et cetera, Netflix. So now we've shifted our direction there. Now, looking at the world of crypto, as you're talking about, what's happening there? Well, there's opportunities that I see for all the people that have tuned into the world of crypto and have bought Bitcoin and many of the other kind of crypto coins out there, to find places for them to spend that currency, those coins. So at the end of the day, as you start seeing some of these places, the overstocks of the world that say, hey, we take Bitcoin, right? And so I believe that as more and more places are creating some of their own coins and places to spend it, I believe commerce is the future of where crypto is going. And at the end of the day, look, you can save it and buy it and look for it to go up in value. And obviously, that's what's been happening in most cases. If you look at, when I first got involved in looking at Bitcoin, I looked at it way back when it was about $300, and it went to 1,000 and went to 5,000, and look where it's gone from there. So this has been very powerful, very successful. But now I believe that as the future comes upon us, we're going to see many opportunities to spend the crypto dollars, that the coins that we've been collecting. And so I've seen many companies that are really looking at the usage factor, and that ultimately will assist in driving value. The more places that you can spend it, the more kind of deals that get struck like this, the brighter the future will be. So that's kind of just a quick overview from my side.
Well, awesome. So you mentioned about how you actually got involved in the cryptocurrency space a little bit. Do you mind sharing with our audience how you were introduced to cryptocurrency originally? What attracted you about it? What made you decide to get involved in the industry? For example, were you skeptical when you first heard about it? Or were you a believer and you were kind of gung-ho and going totally crypto?
So I have to always be a little skeptical in everything that I take a look at, because we hear so many things on a day-to-day basis, and I say we have a team of people that helps me sift through the different pitches and proposals that we get. But at one time it was north of 1,000 pitches a month that I was actually getting through the different portals and things that we've got. So it's you need a full-time staff literally to sift through that, because you just never know which ones are the real gems, the needles in the haystack, right? So there was some very serious proposals coming in through some of the portals that we had, and Shark Tank was a very powerful outlet. I did the pilot back in 2009 from the first phone call I got from Mark Burnett. It's been 10 years now I've been associated with the Shark Tank brand. So one of the beautiful parts of what Shark Tank has done, as they've created the number one business reality show in the world. It's running now all over the world. That Shark Tank doesn't just run the same shows that we shot, and I did 175 segments from the very beginning to today. But it isn't just those that keep running over and over, because CNBC runs 2 hours a night and they do weekend extravaganzas, but it now runs in hundreds of millions of homes around the world, as well as localized versions. So I was just in Sao Paulo, Brazil. There's Portuguese, Brazilian sharks, and there's sharks in Mexico that are all these localized versions, localized sharks in Australia and South Africa and Mexico, Brazil, etc. But this has given me a responsibility to protect the brand of Shark Tank as being a shark. And so when I first heard about Bitcoin, actually, Michael Taggart, who's going to be part of your crew, there was a big mastermind that was down in St. Martin's, and I went down there and I was hanging out with some early on people at the very beginning of the craze that was starting to take off, and so one of the things that I was hearing in the beginning was Bitcoin was, the prediction was going to get big acceptance, and obviously they predicted the rise in the price, and this was when it was about $300 or $400 back then, and then but also, hey, look, you're going to see other crypto coins, and there's going to be a proliferation of many other coins to come out also. So fast forwarding everything that I was hearing in that mastermind, it was a small group. There was probably maybe about 30 of us that were invited to this program. And we actually, the reason I got invited is because I'm in the infomercial business, and they were like, hey, look, we need to get the word out about crypto. Let's do an infomercial about this whole industry and the opportunity right now. So that was the discussion that we were having back, a number of years ago. So fast forward, then a lot of people that have done very, very well. And from my side, the skepticism turned into a reality of knowing that the business is solid and has a great future and great opportunity for those that want to get involved. So now that I've seen, I think there's a big firm up in Pennsylvania, Susquehanna, that does a lot of trading in crypto and futures and hedge funds, and of course the world of blockchain has many fintech companies, and I'm going to conferences, and as I'm seeing this world develop, it's just so exciting to see all the opportunities that are out there. So I'm really excited to be part of today's program too. So,
well, that's fascinating, Kevin.
Let's have some fun here, Eric.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that, because now I'm going to put you in a little bit of the hot seat, right? So there's this perception, for some folks, they're totally crypto, right? And then there's obviously some folks that are skeptical and saying that, hey, this isn't here necessarily to stay. And so obviously, at the level of success that you're having, the types of people as an influencer that you get to connect with in the business world and traditional investment community, what's the perception and the narrative behind the scenes, right? Because there might be a lot of people who are publicly talking with a different perspective of they're not a believer or skeptical of Bitcoin, crypto, blockchain, but behind closed doors, right? On the golf courses, if you will, yeah. What are the conversations that you're having in private that might shed a little bit of light about what the real feeling is about cryptocurrency and how it's affecting our economy?
So I think fundamentally, the basis of and the foundation of crypto is based on blockchain, and I think this. So what I hear, and you mentioned, the golf course. Hung out a little bit. I live in sunny Florida, so I get a chance to play golf as often as I can in between the travels. But the big buzz in my world, and what I hear from the people that I talk to, is that blockchain is obviously here to stay for forever, and it's a foundation for many new industries. I'm involved in a number of blockchain ventures. Blockchain is being used now in the medical field, the financial fields, fulfillment, and importing of goods, media production, talent procurement. It's a way to create a foundation to streamline different kinds of processes and protect the flow of information and details in different industries that I'm involved with, which is very powerful. So blockchain is solid. Now, when it comes to crypto, there's certain cryptos that have done well and have foundational support and trading volume, et cetera. These are solid in the marketplace, but one of the concerns in the world of crypto, or some of the maybe what they're calling the fly by night kind of things, that whether people start out not looking for them to be as totally legit, I don't know. I don't want to comment on that, but I think there have been some situations where there's been money raised through ICOs and maybe some people that have been involved in some deals that maybe shouldn't have gone the way they did and raised the capital that they did. And so what's the monitoring of that and what's happening there? So I believe that there are some, it's an industry that you got to be cautious, you got to be careful and just get involved with the right deals. And so I think at the end of the day, one of the key things is looking at the people that are behind some of these situations, if it sounds too good to be true. But the bottom line, though, is I think that blockchain is here to stay. There's certain cryptos that obviously, in my opinion, will also be here to stay for the long run, but others that you want to stay away from.
Awesome. And if you're just joining us again, I'm your guest host today, E-Rock Christopher, and I'm interviewing business icon and original Shark Tank investor, Kevin Harrington. And if you're enjoying this amazing content, please feel free to share it on social media to help get the word out and share the message of cryptocurrency if you'd like. So, Kevin, obviously you come from a different perspective, right? Like coming from the business world, the investment world, from a traditional business. And now you're getting pitched literally, like you said, thousands of times and have, I'm sure, all sorts of deal flow coming on your virtual desk, if you will. So one of the questions that we wanted to make sure to ask is, what is the one thing that you typically look for in a project or a team before you'll actually invest and back a particular crypto-based company?
Well, Eric, that's a great question, and I know you say what's the one thing, so I'll try to zero in on that. But it ultimately, before you're going to make an investment, you can't base it on one thing actually. But there's a series of things, and I have a 10-point analysis that I use. But let me just focus on the very beginning of that structure, because if it doesn't hit the first couple of points, we don't get to 7, 8, 9, or 10. But I look ultimately at the core of what I need to see is I want to see some kind of a product or business or service that solves a problem in a unique fashion, and uniquely such that no other product or service solves that problem in a similar fashion, right? And then that's, you can say that's one thing, but solving a problem in a unique fashion might be considered two things: solving a problem and then uniquely number two. But I love to see, and this is something it goes back to my roots in the as seen on TV world. I like to see a magical transformation of some kind, right? Because I in any world, whether it be the financial world, if you can magically transform people's wealth from not being wealthy to being wealthy, that's a good thing. Or in the world of products that I sell, if it's going back to the early days of Billy Mays and products like OxyClean, you've got a terrible stain that you can't get out. Let's magically transform that by cleaning it instantly by a little spray of OxyClean or something, right? So these are, OxyClean was a great example of the power of oxygen. Oxygenates the cleaning process. This cleaned like no other product cleaned, and it magically transformed. So it was unique. It was a problem solver, and it provided magical transformation. So here again, those are a couple of the key things. And we're kind of talking about products and services here, but it also applies in other worlds, and certainly in the world of finance and making money. Magically transforming someone's bank account is what a lot of people like to see when it comes to investing, right? So that's ultimately a couple of the key things I look for.
All right. Well, so now on the opposite end of the spectrum, right, there's here's the core things that Kevin Harrington is evaluating when it comes to making an investment, right? What are some of the big red flags that you see currently taking place in the cryptocurrency world that perhaps would cause you to just turn around and run the other direction?
Well, I think it would primarily be people that are raising money, whether it be through ICOs or however they're raising the capital based on their ideas, and not having really strong business plans, white papers, direction. One of the big things on Shark Tank that I always wanted to see, what's the use of proceeds, right? And if you're going to go raise 10 million, where do the first dollars get spent? And I want to understand where the money's going, because I've done deals in the past, unfortunately for me, where even on a Shark Tank situation, I wrote a check for $500,000 for an investment into a business, didn't get the use of proceeds tight enough, and all of a sudden the money's going in all these different directions. And 6 months later, where is it? Well, it's gone. So that's the worst thing that can happen in any business investment, is not understanding where the money's going to go, and then it got used for things that weren't supposed to happen or be used for, and that just ends in very bad situations. So you end up in litigation, securities issues, all kinds of trouble. So the bottom line is, I think that I like to understand who is the team behind a project, what are the legals, what kind of attention to the securities details do they have, and if you are raising capital, are you doing it in a proper fashion, vetted properly, legally, obviously, and then if the money's coming in, who's controlling it? Is there an operating agreement to all of that? And what is the use of proceeds? Because I've seen horror stories across the board in these kind of situations.
Well, great advice, right?
Yeah.
Know where your money's going to be spent.
Right.
I know that sounds pretty fundamental, but it's like, I think it's something that people can easily overlook in the excitement of what they believe is going to be a great opportunity. So obviously, Mr. Harrington, you have a different perspective. You have, I'm sure, plenty of deal flow in the cryptocurrency world coming your way. And obviously, you've made some financial commitments to invest in projects that you believe in. Would you mind sharing with our audience a little bit about some of the projects that you're currently working on in the cryptocurrency space? And also, was there anything specific about those projects that attracted to you from an investment perspective?
Yeah. So over the years, as an SC on TV person, I look at the 35 years that I've been producing infomercials and spots and as seen on TV type products and successes. And by the way, not all of them are successful. I've had more failures than successes. And we're going to talk entrepreneurially a little bit here too, Eric. And I think that any entrepreneur that wants to talk about their successes, they should also be prepared to tell you about some of the failures. I can tell you about hundreds of failures that I've had because I only succeed 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4 times in the things that I do. It's just I limit the amount of money that I lose on the failures and then have much bigger upside on the successes is one of my strategies. But so I've done literally billions of dollars over the years in sales, which means I bought a ton of media. I've done a lot of fulfillment. I've done a lot of sourcing and bringing in of products from overseas. So I've imported close to $1 billion worth of goods from China and the Orient, which means we're using fulfillment and shipping services to bring these goods into the U.S. so that we can then put them into our warehouse, put them in a box, ship to the end consumer. So I've done a lot of fulfillment. I've done a lot of processing. I've done a lot of using talent and production and different things. So I'm involved in various blockchain ventures that are using, for example, one called ShipChain, which is a former president of DHL, a big fulfillment company in the world and shipping company, former head of DHL, is no longer at DHL, is now running one of our ventures called ShipChain. And ShipChain is using blockchain for fulfillment. So as I've done all of these, hundreds of millions, maybe $1 billion worth of fulfillment over the last 35 years, many times products would come out of the Orient, bills of lading on big boats coming over from the Orient, and there was some under-the-table deals done. I didn't even know all the stuff that was happening behind the scenes to get goods into my hand. You ever hear about, it's at customs, or it's stuck here, or it's stuck there? Well, how does it get unstuck? Well, there's lots of little deals that are being cut many times. Well, guess what? The world of blockchain puts this all into a whole different world, and it now becomes something you can track all above board. There's not these under-the-table kind of payoffs and cash and this kind of stuff. And by the way, in the end run, this legitimizes and strengthens the whole process to an amazing level of saving you money in this whole sequencing. So always knowing where everything is. So at the end of the day, I've taken some of the industries that I've been involved with. There's a venture that I'm involved with called Sportico that does talent procurement through blockchain, and then we've got another blockchain venture that I'm involved with is a very powerful a company that's involved with the lottery business. It's lottery.com. And so the bottom line is, and then there's also processing ones that we're getting close to cutting some deals with, fintech kind of stuff. So from a fulfillment standpoint and shipping and talent procurement, another one called Smart Chain Media, a group out of Los Angeles, got a lot of TV executives. This is a production related venture. So I believe very powerfully in the world of blockchain and in this future world that there's going to be great opportunities. In fact, there's an artificial intelligence one for the medical world that involves radiology that I'll be talking about in the very near future. Also, the world of medical and healthcare has some tremendous opportunities that are going to be happening there too. So,
are you sure you don't want to drop a name of a project right there, Kevin? Or are you not able to disclose?
I will. I will at a later time. But yeah, so we've got some really cool things that are happening. Anybody that's interested in that one, if they want to get back to us, we'll be able to supply them. There's some confidentiality issues on a few of these, but that's one that we have a very powerful deck that we can provide. This involves a professor from UCLA that's a radiologist and a group of doctors on the West Coast in the world of artificial intelligence. So, and when you think about radiology and cancers and that world's heating up big time. The healthcare side of things in the world of blockchain. So I just every day I love to see many of these opportunities. I've been speaking at some of the conferences. Recently, there was a conference in Miami on blockchain, and Damon John from Shark Tank, myself, we're doing some keynote speaking there, and that was a lot of fun because people they're just looking to see where are these opportunities, where are the upsides, and so I'm all ears as I'm listening, but I'm being very selective in the ones that I do get involved with.
Well, very cool. So being selective in who you're deciding to get involved with, you mentioned earlier regulation, right? Things of that nature. And so when it comes to the world of crypto regulation, the SEC, because that's like a very hotly debated topic right now in the financial communities at large. So what's your take on whether or not cryptocurrencies should be regulated in some way? Because obviously one of the big benefits of the cryptocurrency blockchain space is the decentralization, right? So should there be some sort of regulation in place to protect investment opportunities and investors, or should the whole thing be self-regulated, completely decentralized?
So, I mean, you bring up a very critical question, and because I'm not a lawyer, but I do employ several, and not as employees of the company, but as retainers, to the tune of spending lots of dollars in that world, because the best of the best lawyers are out there trying to figure all this out themselves. So I'm not going to go down as the expert in this regard, but the one thing that I'll say is this: is that I'm an investor. I also raise money because I've had just for example, a group came to me one time. They're needing $20 million. So and so, oh, Kevin, would you like to invest $20 million in our venture? And I'm like, well, it looks like a great opportunity here. I'll put the first $250,000 into that deal, but I'm not going to write a check for $20 million because there's the more of those kind of checks. I mean, even the Mark Cubans generally, Mark is worth north of $3 billion. I don't know what his appetite is on the high end of how much he'll invest, but 20 million is a lot for one investor to commit to. So I helped the first 250 in one of these ventures, and then I helped them go raise the other 19 plus million. So that's the way I like to do my investing. And so I'm an investor, but I'm also then helping raise some money. But I believe that regulation is important, and I believe that yes, we are in a decentralized ultimate business with crypto, but I believe sometimes there's too many people trying to raise capital in areas that investors should be careful about. So whether it's a self-regulation or an SEC kind of a regulation, I believe regulation is important and needed, because I think that there's too many situations out there where investors are going to have a hard time getting their money back. So I think that again, I always go to the root of who are the people behind it, what's their track record, what are their previous deals, what are some of the successes and failures that they've had, and then let's see some good legal reviews of how they're raising the capital. Is it unaccredited investors, accredited investors, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to take the stand here that I believe that self-regulation and possibly some good SEC regulation may be necessary in some of these situations.
Well, awesome. So, you're talking about like tens of millions of dollars in investment opportunities out there just that you're getting pitched on, right? So,
Yes.
Obviously, I think in the cryptocurrency space, from an investment perspective, a lot of people are anxiously awaiting for institutional money to flow into this space so that it will like help raise the value and the trust inside the cryptocurrency world and create more value for various cryptocurrencies. And so one of the guests for this Totally Crypto Summit, or the Future of Money virtual summit, is the CEO of One Law, Jason Velez. And in his interview, he talked about that he believes that there should be some form of custodianship of digital assets to build that trust. And that would help to unlock institutional investment money. And some people in the investment community, hedge fund world, are calling it like the holy grail of unlocking institutional money. So do you agree that like legal custodianship of digital assets is a good idea in building trust and getting institutional money to flow in? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I think, and I've heard a little bit about that. Let's put it this way: if I always say that the one thing people miss when they come on to Shark Tank, as someone, they're pitching the sharks for money, right? You know what most of them forget about is they have to make the deal very appetizing and easy for the sharks to want to invest. They're too focused on themselves, their business, their product, sometimes the numbers, or it's a $10 billion industry. If we only get 1% of that, we're going to build this, $100 million company, right? Well, that doesn't always just fly. So how do you get the shark to write the check? If you put a custodial kind of a situation in place, that might be just enough for those investors to want to make the investment, because they believe, okay, you're protecting me, the investor. And so I talk about different things that can accelerate the shark's interest in investing in deals. And one of the things I talk about is accelerating their return on their money back, right? So, hey, if I need $1 million for 10% of my company, and you're just going to get it back out of profits down the road, well, I may not be interested in that deal, because I'm just going to, you've got to be profitable for me to see my money back. And that may never happen, because sometimes companies don't want to be profitable because they don't want to pay a lot of taxes, et cetera. So the only other exit strategy is when the company sells. But if I'm getting some kind of accelerated payback, and you mentioned a custodial situation, this maybe allows for situations where there could be some prioritization on people getting their money back. So I think the key thing that I say people that are raising capital need to be doing is, how do they get those sharks? How do they get those investors to write the checks? And putting things like custodial arrangements in place can provide a warm and fuzzy for those investors to want to maybe take that risk and make that plunge. So I think those are good ideas, but I'm not necessarily saying it has to happen in all cases. But it depends on the kind of hedge funds that you're looking to get. But if hedge funds said, we'll come in if you can create some of these kind of custodial situations, maybe it's worth giving that a try then, obviously. So I think it's not all written in stone how these deals have to happen yet. And so you mentioned self certifying things, but the SEC may come in and say this is how it has to be done, and these are the rules you need to follow. So,
right.
At that point, you've got certain governmental rules that you have to follow. So, I'll just make it appealing to the investors, and things can happen.
Well, obviously you have, you're what would be considered a modern day business icon, right? And obviously you had tremendous success in the business world from an investment perspective. But obviously, coming into the crypto world, it can be very secular, if you will, or very, kind of tightly knit in terms of, like the initial creation in the cryptocurrency Bitcoin space. So when you were first coming into this world as a traditional investor, were you seen as kind of like a little bit as an outsider coming in, or did the crypto community, do you feel, welcomed you with open arms? So did you find it difficult, or did you find it easy to develop relationships and become a key person of influence in the crypto community?
It's a great question. I think I think initially people would, I'm kind of like that has seen on TV guy, the Tony Little Gazelle and George Foreman and Jack LaLanne and Billy Mays and all that kind of stuff. So I think people are like, how does that all apply to this world of crypto? But at the end of the day, I generate revenue, I generate sales, and so crypto is, if there's places that you're going to be able to spend your crypto dollars, coins, that's how people, I think, have now sort of embraced me, is that I'm all about commerce. And so at the end of the day, you mentioned what ventures am I involved with and things like that. Well, if you're buying products, you need fulfillment, you need processing, you need talent, you need media, you need production, right? So all of those universes, my philosophy in the world of crypto and blockchain is getting involved in ventures that can utilize the businesses that I'm utilizing already. So that makes total sense for me. And so initially, when I was just thinking about Bitcoin, and really in the beginning, you weren't able to buy much with it. I didn't see a lot of correlation to my background and the world of crypto and blockchain. But the more time I spent in it, and the more events that I went to and conventions and things that I started seeing and speaking at and networking and as I mentioned, some of the healthcare things and a ship chain type of situation, the more of these kind of things that I got involved with, the more I saw that I really can be part of the infrastructure of some of these companies and this industry. So I think I started as an outsider, and I'm working my way in, if I could say it that way.
Well, perfect. So the next question will actually lead right into that. And I know we're coming up a little bit short on time. So I want to make sure we get through a handful of questions before we wrap up. But the next one is seeing that you're looking to develop these relationships and continue to be a key person of influence, who are like maybe your top 3 people in the cryptocurrency world that you'd like to connect with, and why?
Well, okay, so that's probably a good question. Funny thing is, I've been reading about the Winklevoss boys. They're the twins for ages. Never met them. It's like it's when you read about and there's movies about them and so many different scenarios that you see there. They seem to be some pretty good pioneers in the world. So that's probably somewhere near the top of my list. Recently, I was reading about a group, I think I mentioned earlier, out of Pennsylvania. I think it's Susquehanna Investments, or I don't know if they're a hedge fund or what kind of a group they are up there. And the name of the gentleman that runs it escapes me right now. But I believe they're pretty actively involved in the crypto space. So I think they're doing a lot of trading. They got involved early on. And I just as I was reading more about that group, I think they're in Ballackinwood, Pennsylvania, the suburb of Philadelphia. I spent 10 years up in Philly, so I kind of know the area up there a little bit. But I think as more of the hedge money and the trading kind of groups get involved in the world of crypto, I think this will strengthen the future of the different currencies and cryptos that are out there. So I think those are a couple of really good guys. And you've got someone coming on today, the McAfee. That is what an amazing pioneer he is. So I'm going to be tuning back in later, and I encourage everybody else because. He's been a pioneer in the world. So if you want 3, there we go. There's my third one, and I'd love to meet him sometime. He and I actually spoke at a conference together, but he was on a different day, so I didn't actually get a chance to meet him. So that'd be another guy. I'd love to hear about his thoughts on the world of crypto and blockchain, and so I'll be tuning back in later on to listen to him too. So thanks for asking that question now.
No, absolutely. And so I want to direct the narrative a little bit more to the entrepreneurial space. Obviously, as a contributor to entrepreneur.com, There's a lot of business owners who consume content there. And so one of the things that you mentioned before was the adoption of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency as payment. So quickly, would you say that the majority of businesses should be making a concerted effort to accept Bitcoin or some form of cryptocurrency? What's your take on that?
I think so. I mean, it's let's put it this way: there are buyers out there that have crypto, and some of them are looking for places to spend it. So I believe that the early pioneers in this area are places that people will want to go to and spend their dollars. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, what's the risk? They can take Bitcoin for their goods or services, and they can hold it, and maybe it's going to go up. If they're concerned about it going down, they can liquidate it within a certain period of time and get their cash. So, at the end of the day, there's not a huge risk. Maybe just in the term of the time between cashing it in and the time they got it and what they sold their goods and services for. But I believe that the smart companies that do this are going to have an advantage to the whole process and also position themselves in the marketplace to people that have crypto.
Well, one of the things that you reference is that, in your bio, you talk about how you've been able to help multiple companies eclipse $100 million in revenue. I'm sure there's plenty of founders, startups, and businesses that would love to learn from your wisdom and experience. So what top 3 tips would you give entrepreneurs to help them to take their business to the next level?
So, very good question. I think number one, I say that they need to surround themselves with the right kind of people and what I call a dream team. So many entrepreneurs, and even when I was a young entrepreneur, I thought I could do it all myself. I just kept plugging away, and I didn't want to hire people. I didn't want to spend the money. I thought it was an expense. But getting the right people on your team, I've got 2 lawyers that are on my team. I've got a bunch of digital marketing experts, and these are typically younger guys that are out of in their 20s, and so as us old entrepreneurs get too old, you got to get these younger digital guys to come in and help. So from a digital standpoint, a legal standpoint, a crypto standpoint, due diligence standpoint, getting the right dream team is very, very important. So I would say that's probably one of the steps. Number 2, and I mentioned it, I mentioned the word digital, but I've come out of this world of as seen on TV, and I'm still doing some things in that universe. But as the analog world is dropping and things are moving more digital, whether as TV viewership has dropped, what we've had to do is focus on this back end world of where have those eyeballs gone. So we're embracing digital in a much bigger way. So I mean, even the TV world now. So I'm involved in a new project for that is a call it a TV show, but it's not being produced in the normal sense for like ABC, CBS, or cable. This is being produced for like either a Netflix or a Facebook or an Amazon. There's lots of big opportunities in this world. So House of Cards started on Netflix, right? They didn't go the TV route. So a lot of shows are starting in off the television networks and or cable networks kind of schedules. So I believe embracing digital from a digital advertising, digital marketing, and digital future standpoint is important, and having some digital experts on your team. So number 1, get a dream team that can take you to the future. Number 2, embrace digital. Number 3, I think, is something that was always missing, and it's a very basic, simple thing. It's kind of like, I call it getting back to what's proven and what you're good at, but it's in taking wherever you are and solidifying when you have to start doing some new things, and get a great business plan and go raise some capital for your ideas and your ventures. Too many people, I'll speak in front of 1,000 people. I'll say, let me see a show of hands. How many people here might be raising capital in the next 12 to 24 months? And maybe a third of the hands in the audience go up, which means I say to the other 2/3, so you must be independently wealthy, you don't need capital, or you're not going to grow your business to the point where you think you might need capital to grow. So I believe it's always time to go raise capital. This gets back to, I had a book called Act Now. Now is the time to act. Now is the time to do. Now is the time to create. So I think it's important that you get the right team, embrace digital, be ready to act now, go raise some capital for your venture, and then you can really take off and grow your business. So so I think those are kind of the three first steps that I would pick and choose. And by the way, when someone comes on Shark Tank, they've kind of done all that. They're coming on to get a new dream team, a shark that's going to open up their Rolodex. They're looking for capital. They're acting now. They're putting a business plan together for that team. And certainly, hopefully, they're embracing digital along the way also. So I think this is kind of a continuation of the things I've been doing the last few years, but it's very powerful for any entrepreneur out there because, as you mentioned, entrepreneur.com, they're dealing with all these mega entrepreneurs that are reading the magazines and the publications and the websites every month. Those are my recommended first three things to go do. So thanks for having me today, Eric. It's been a pleasure being here.
No, I appreciate it. I got just a couple more questions and then we're done. We'll wrap it up. So we'll keep these super short. So obviously, some people talk about the infobesity epidemic, the overwhelm of information. You probably get into data with request pitches all the time. So do you typically take a while to evaluate business and investment decisions, or do you make decisions fairly quickly?
Well, at the end of the day, there's certain niche things that we're kind of looking for. So let's just take in our product business, just signal that out to give you a flow. We know what we're looking for there. So I could get 1,000 things to come through right away. We can whittle that down to the top 50 so that we could take 950 of the things that come through 1,000 numbers, 1,000 being the number, right? We focus on the top 50. So now myself and my dream team can dive deeper on the top 50 so we can, kind of get rid of the things that we really aren't interested in. So now when we whittle 50 down to 10, and then we start doing the real due diligence, we go from 1,000 to 10 within a short period of time, and that's where we spend our time. So and then I have a team of people that are part of my dream team to help me analyze those 10 to focus in on the top 3 or 4.
Awesome. So that's I'm going to interject because it leads right on my next question. So you're down to 2. You've got 2 projects. Data looks awesome, right? Your team's bringing it. It's a 50-50. Like, how do you make the decision and how much do you rely on your business intuition to make that decision, aka biz tuition?
So a couple things. I look for what is the capital required, how much of my time is required, and what's the upside. Okay. So and then how long is it going to take for me to get back my capital and see things happening? That's a key thing. So if I look at 2 things, and each of them take $1 million, but one can build a $10 million business, the other can build a $100 million business. Now I've narrowed it down to which way I think I might be going. But the $100 million one is a 10-year payback, but the $10 million one is a 1-year payback. Now I have some decisions to make. So I look for things to come back within a 2-year to 3-year run. I don't like to make investments that are going to take 10 years to see my money back. It's too long. There's too many variables. Too many things can happen. So I look for, and then how much of my time and energy is it going to take, or can I use my people to do it? So those are some of the variables. I like for investments to be able to come back within 3 years, not too much of my time, and to have my team that's able to help implement it. Because if it's all me that I have to put into it, then it's opportunity cost of having to spend so much of my own personal time on it.
Awesome. Last question. I promise you have my word of honor, and I want to put you a little bit in the hot seat on the spot. I know that you can handle it because obviously you've been in way more hotter situations, but would you be willing to go on record to make any bold predictions or specific prognostications about the future of crypto? So as an example, billionaire venture capitalist Tim Draper claims and believes that by the year 2020, that the value of Bitcoin will be $250,000. Do you have, what's your thought on that? And do you have any other bold predictions you'd like to share? Like, do you ever foresee that Bitcoin or some form of digital cryptocurrency is going to completely become like a global cryptocurrency, replacing the US dollar, et cetera?
So I'm going to do a little bit of a hedge, and I'm going to use that word hedge because when crypto was at 10,000 and people were telling me it's going to the moon, you got to get in. It's going to be 100,000, and it went to 15, and it went to 20,000, and then shortly thereafter, I believe there was a couple hedge funds that put in some futures, and they put in futures. I think the futures during this time came out at around 17,000, and so I said to myself, wow, there's some smart Wall Street money is putting a 30 or 60-day future of crypto at 17,000. So we've had this huge rise. It's gone from 300 to 500 to 1,000 to 5,000 to 10,000 to 15,000 to 20,000. Now they've hedged it at 17. Okay, I think we may see for a little bit of time at least. I think we've seen a peak here, and shortly thereafter it kind of dropped back and has hovered at the lower numbers since. But I think I would pay attention to what a lot of the Wall Street money starts doing, and as they're hedging and where they're going. Because I said I'm going to hedge myself because the hedge guys, they're smarter at these kind of things than me. And look, there's some people that have some inside tracks and inside knowledge, but I would pay close attention to where Wall Street starts positioning crypto and the hedging and the futures to predict kind of where it's going to be in near term. It's so hard to say long term, so I'm not going to go out on a limb like some of the others have, because at the end of the day, I'm an entrepreneur. I know how to build businesses. I know my industry, and I'm a relatively late comer into this powerful world of crypto, but I'm excited about it, and I want to be part of the future. And so I think that I'm looking to partner with the right people that can use a shark to be part of their team for the future.
Well, awesome. So, Kevin, I do want to give you an opportunity to share a little bit about the free giveaway that you're offering here as part of this event. We're excited to have you here. But before we have you share a little bit about that, we want to remind everybody that this entire training, we hope you enjoyed today's free interview. Kevin Harrington, original Shark Tank, pioneer of the As Seen on TV brand, the inventor of the infomercial, like amazing information. But if you'd like to get access through the entire training that you're getting with this virtual summit, through the cryptocurrency training kit. So this will give you access to all the videos, audios, transcripts, and bonus gifts from these top business minds, 35 plus speakers, all for $297. And in addition, you'll get a bonus program called the Crypto Mastery Program that is currently under production. And after the summit, they will raise the price to $497. So if you'd like to get access to the materials early, like smart investors do, right? Invest low and be able to create high ROI. Now's the time. So, Kevin, would you like to share just a quick snippet of information about your free gift today? Obviously, I think that I got early access to it. I registered. I'm excited about what I saw. I loved the 7 Ps, right? Super cool. Maybe you could tell our audience a little bit more as we finish up.
Yes. So we've got, and I hope you have the link because my son sent it earlier today for us. But I put a program out called "How to Become a Key Person of Influence in Your Industry," and so this is very powerful. It's a 7-step system, building your brand, becoming the most talked about person in your industry, and so. I don't care what industry you're in. If you're in the crypto industry, there's ways to rise above the top. And when people think of crypto, they think of you, or when they think of if you're a chiropractor, whatever industry you're in. It's a very entrepreneurial program, and it's 7 steps. So I hope you have the link for that, Eric.
We do.
API something direct, I think, .com, but I'll let you give that link. But it's a very powerful program, free of charge today.
Awesome. Yeah. Hopefully it's available right here on this page if you're viewing us live. And if not, you're accessing the recordings. It will definitely be included part of your investment. So Mr. Kevin Harrington, it's an honor, a pleasure. I feel so blessed to have been able to have this opportunity to connect with you again personally. And so thanks for your time. I do want to make sure you get off so that you can get on that flight. And I hope you have a great trip. And we'll chat soon.
Thanks, Eric. 2 thumbs up to everybody out there today. Been a pleasure being here. Take
awesome.
care.
Thank you so much. And so on behalf of the Future of Money Summit team, right, with Mr. John Tarr, Roger Bryan, Adrian Ashley, again, thank you for being here and putting this event together. I'm honored to have been a guest host for today's event, and hopefully we'll chat with you soon. So everyone watching, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you on the next event with Peter Lucy, who is a hedge fund manager who used to work at Morgan Stanley doing amazing things. You're going to not want to miss his talk coming up here at 9 Pacific time, 12 East Coast. So thanks for joining us on the Future of Money Summit, and we'll see you on the next interview.